The Belgian Model 1889 really started the firm that we know as Fabrique Nationale, but it was the national rifle of Belgium before the First World War and saw the Belgian army through that entire conflict.
When you consider the name Mauser in terms of military rifle, you really have to start with the Model 1889 Belgian. Because anything they made before that, both the Model 71s, the Model 7184s, they weren't all that modern. But the 1889 Belgian was such an improvement over the German rifle. The German Army rifle had been adopted in 1888 and had been designed by a commission.
Adopted as the 1889 Belgian Mauser, what you have in this design is a lot of elements that we'll see in future generations of Mauser rifles. It has a cock-on-close action, which we'll see going into the 1890s on a lot of different Mauser designs. It's got the rotating collar for the extractor on the bolt. It's got notably a box magazine that's extending below the action. And this is probably the most notable feature of the 1889 Belgian Mauser. You see that, that long single stack box magazine that's just in front of the trigger guard. It is like James Paris Lee's design. It is a removable box magazine, but it's not designed to be detached and reloaded. It's designed to be loaded from the top using another innovation that Mauser builds into the 89, which is the advent of a stripper clip guide. So the soldier, when they're opening the bolt, they then can load 5 rounds of 7.65 by 53 ammunition, which that was the Belgian cartridge as designed by Paul Mauser in 1889, but now today becomes known as the 7.65 Argentine. But this was a huge leap forward in military rifle design.
The Belgian army had contracted with a number of manufacturers to produce these guns. At first, the initial contract that they had developed prior to its adoption in 1889 was so large that it took a consortium of firearms manufacturers to get together and say, okay, between us, we can build 500,000 of these in the time period that they've asked us. And so that consortium became known as FN, Fabrique Nationale Armes de Guerre. And that's how FN got its start, still running today, because of the contract from the Belgian government to produce this Mauser. And produce it they did into the hundreds of thousands.
The Belgians, after adopting the Model 1889, went from being really kind of a third-rate military force with a single-shot black powder military arm to one of the cutting edge, because they had an arm that few other militaries at the time really had. And this obviously attracted interest. The design was also picked up by the Ottoman Empire as the Model 1890. Although there were a few slight changes to the design. One of the notable features of the Belgian Mauser was Paul Mauser, he looked at the 88 Commission rifle and thought, well, this barrel jacket thing might be something that militaries are looking for, because that's what the German Empire wanted. So we put a barrel jacket on the 89 Belgian, and that's one of the salient features of that design. It was frankly a bad idea. It trapped moisture, led to some corrosion issues within the jacket itself. And that was quickly discarded as the Mauser design advanced into the 1890s.
Interestingly enough, of all the World War I, the common World War I firearms that one can find on the market today, probably the most elusive is the 1889 Belgian Mauser. And why, I don't know. You see lots of 98s, you see lots of course, obviously Enfields, 93 Labels, but 89 Belgians are very, very difficult to come by. And when you do find them, like the one that we're looking at today, they're generally mismatched. To find a Belgian Mauser match on the collector market today, it's a severe, considerable premium.